I was born in Missouri, moved to California when I was 5 with my parents, and we lived in the godforsaken town of Taft until I was 12. Then we moved to Santa Barbara, which was like heaven. And I've lived here ever since, except during the war. And Walter and I were in Buffalo, New York. And then...
When you say the war, World War II?
Mm-hmm. And then we conceived her after much effort. And we moved to Atlanta, Georgia, by Bell Aircraft. And that's where we lived until the war was over. And of course, Carolyn had joined us, and that was wonderful. And she was leaving that day to go to the annual meeting. And so we were going to leave their home earlier, and we were getting ready, and she said, well, why don't you come with me? So we followed her to the place where JR was going to be speaking, and went in, and we signed up for, what you call those things? Discourses, right away. And when JR was the last one to come down the aisle, others had been ministers. And when he came down the aisle, this huge light formed around him. And I had seen something similar, but nothing like that. And so I thought, well, I'll shut my eyes. So I closed my eyes and opened them, and it was still there. And he went up on the platform and began his talk. And that light stayed around him for me the entire time. And I knew I had found my home.
Nice.
Well, a whole new world opened up to me. And seeing things through the light really made a big difference. I walked into a whole new world when I met JR. Well, it was when we had visited Carolyn and her family for the weekend. We were coming home, and she had the meeting she was going to. And she said, well, why don't you stop and go to the meeting? It won't be out of your way. So we decided we'd do that. And all ministers spoke first. And then JR came in down the aisle, and I saw this flood of light that completely surrounded his body. I mean, like about 25 feet in a circle around him. And he got up on the platform, and he spoke. He was the last speaker, and that light remained there for me the entire time. So I knew that I had found something that I hadn't had before.
What's your shoe? There you go.
John Roger opened an entire new, magnificent way of life for me, and for Walter pretty much too. And it was like when I first saw JR at the conference, this ball of light formed around him. It was a good 50 feet in diameter. And I thought, I've seen light before, but nothing like this. So I thought, well, I'll shut my eyes. And closed my eyes, opened them, the light was still there. So I thought, okay, I'll look over here. And I did that, and I looked over here, and I looked up there, and I looked down there, and the light was everywhere. And I realized that JR was the light, and that I had the not only the opportunity but the privilege of meeting him that day, and he became a very vital part of our lives. He truly did. Still is. Yeah.
I like that.
Do you remember Walter set the books up for Paul? Remember in the accounting?
Well, yeah, Walter set up the first formal books for the movement. The accounting. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it changed my whole life experience. And I lived the new experience to the best of my ability. And I don't know how to express it any better than that. Yes, it was like the way I was raised by my parents. There were so many sins and that kind of thing. And meeting and becoming as close as we did with JR just changed our lives to the point where we're not who we were to begin with. We graduated, so to speak, yeah, through JR into the light, I'll put it that way. Well, only that we became very close with JR. And, I mean, it was a real privilege to have him come and be in our home and have dinner with us and that sort of thing. And, of course, we visited him up on the hill, too. Having JR come into our lives when it did changed our entire outlook, and we were able to live our life in a much different manner. To let the loving and the light flow in and through us. And we had seminars here, you know, for many years. And the most we ever had, wait, no, Norma, do it the other way. The least that we ever had here for a seminar was one person. And that was me, who was giving the seminar. The most we ever had was every room in this house was filled with people.
Wow.
And I have no idea, you know, the number of people, but there were quite a few. Yeah. And
everyone sang.
Oh, yeah, sang. Yeah, we had music and sang. Did I want to tell John Roger? That is the greatest blessing I've ever received, was coming into the awareness of him and his teachings. Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Well, it was more than a pleasure for me. Great, great joy. just opened up a whole new way of looking at life. Yeah.
Well, thank you.